What we're talking about is the exchange of value here and the storage of value. Now, all of those third parties are centralized exchanges or stores of value. Or even if you look at SWIFT payment systems, it's the transmission of value. What is being disrupted here is every single component of that, from finance to ownership to insurance to supply chains to the whole lot, where it's all been centralized in the past and now it doesn't need to be.
So it feels like banks are big. I want to go through losers and winners. It feels like a lot of the platforms could be losers, a lot of the banks, anyone who makes money off of escrow, insurance feels like it could get hit hard. Anyone who's the trusted intermediary and gets irrational margin by saying, all right, you want to buy a house, you need to get these stamps, this documentation, you need to hold the money here and we release it based on certain conditions. You can build that all into a smart contract. Who are the biggest? It feels like right out of the gates, it feels like the biggest winner is Ethereum. Who are the winners here?
Yeah, the big winners is this whole digital asset ecosystem, right? So currently it's a $1.7 trillion asset class overall, taking everything into account. The equity universe, the fixed income universe, the credit universe, they're all in the $300 to $500 trillion range. So we've got the birth of an asset class, which is disrupting all of those because bonds and equities and custody and all of that is going onto the blockchain. So all of that is going to be disrupted. So we can imagine the ecosystem grows to at least the 300 trillion. So that's a 200x from here, which is the nature of exponential growth and Metcalfe's law, adoption effects. So that's what we've got in front of us. And it's basically going to eat money and anything to do with value. So, Mark Andreessen's Software is Eating the World was incredibly profound, and it's becoming more profound by the day because the magnitude of what is happening now dwarfs almost everything that's just gone before it. So it dwarfs the move to the internet, the internet 2.0. It's much larger because even things like houses are going onto the blockchain. They're going to be tokenized. So here I am in the Cayman Islands. We've got the rich poor divide as everywhere else has. It's not as bad as many places, but we've got a bunch of real estate on 7 Mile Beach, which trades at $10 million for a condo, and normal people can't afford it. So the rich who own these things and build these things make more money than the others. But when you tokenize real estate, you're going to be able to sell it to the local pension plans, and everybody can participate in high-end real estate or high-end cars or high-end art. It's really democratization of ownership of assets. Right now, the average millennial, let's say, who's at 32 years old coming into peak earnings, can only own a certain amount of S&P or equity or fixed income, and they're not going to make enough returns because the valuations and what they can buy. Houses are expensive. But here you're buying an asset class that can potentially go up 200x over the next 10, 20 years. And you can own small fractions of it. So everybody can own the same assets, which is groundbreaking. But that's essentially where it's going. I mean, I think the world where students end up with debt is going to be reversed, and students are going to end up with equity. So if you're a student at Harvard and you've got top grades and you look like you're going to get placed into good jobs and have a good career, you will be able to tokenize part of your future earnings, which is fascinating because that pays for your whole education. The other thing that comes into play within all of this is you will be able to monetize your attention span, which is part of the disruption of the business model of Google and Facebook that is yet to come. Is there's already tokens, basic attention tokens that trade on Brave browser, which basically pays you parts of the advertising revenue. So and I think there's a model of universal basic income that can come out of this as well. That if you're giving away your attention for nothing right now to advertisers and Google are creating a monopoly on the back of it, well, there's an easy disruption to share the economics. And that can be done by tokens as well. And I think there is potentially, as I said, a supplementary income, universal basic income style opportunity within that. So that's another whole aspect within this. That's quite democratizing it. It can change the whole dynamics of this kind of rich-poor world we live in where those with capital get everything. Because what you're saying is it's not all about capital any longer.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
What this whole digital asset space is basically is VC with real-time mark-to-market, right? Which is terrifying. Nobody wants to see that because, the number of times the project's going to go to zero. No, it's not. It's going to be amazing. It's going to zero before it eventually gets traction and builds its business model. We're seeing these in real time. All the mistakes and everything all happen in the open and in public. So it's quite hard to invest in because you don't know what's going to zero and what's not. So you kind of need a bit of help within that. But you can build baskets of stuff. You can do it yourself. You don't need to have somebody to do it. There are people who are now building indices, which I think is a nice, lazy way of doing it. The top 10 by market cap or top 20 by market cap, and they automatically adjust what's in it. And that's worked pretty well for most equity indices. So I think that's fine too. But I also think that really as entrepreneurs, the opportunities for all of us are huge. I mean, staggering. And I think that's what is going to make the most money of all. Yes, buying and owning digital assets, and I'm fully invested in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a bunch of others. But really, I understand that the change, the disruption that's going to happen to business coming from all of this, people are still so far behind the narrative. They're still talking about should we buy Bitcoin or not, when the reality is the world is moving so fast that everybody from musicians to artists to lawyers to accounting firms to everybody is moving to blockchain. And the gaming industry is leading it. In the video industry, it was all led by porn. They've been left behind in this industry. It's actually the gaming industry is absolutely streaking ahead of everybody here.
And which gaming players do you think are embracing it and are going to benefit from it, and which ones get hurt? Because it seems like some are the intermediaries that get disrupted and others are embracing it.
Yeah, again, I don't really know. It's not really my space. Yep. I've just recorded an interview with a guy called Pierce Kicks that I would recommend you talk to. It's incredible. He's like 24 years old and the brightest guy I've ever met, who's just lived in this world and knows every player. So I think there's one called Mega Games. There's a whole bunch of these that are there. There's a few listed public companies, but very little still. It's all kind of below the radar screen for most people. So unless you know what you're doing, it's hard. But I think it's a big disruption to come again for Microsoft and Nintendo and platforms and all of this stuff. The people who are interesting to watch in this space are Facebook, because they own the VR, which is interesting, and they're about to launch DM, which is their own digital stablecoin.
You mean what was Libra?
Correct.
Right.
So they kind of understand that this is where it's all going. That's interesting to me. Google have been nowhere in this equation, but Facebook have definitely seen what's coming, because they will therefore be able to create community tokens built off the back of DM. It's open source. It's all of that stuff. So I don't know where that's going to lead, but they're pretty serious about it.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much, much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.